everyone. Welcome to Wealth Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Reynolds, certified financial planner and owner of Elevation Financial. I'm on the web at elevationfinancial.com. You can find me there. And today I would like to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is budgeting. I know a lot of you out there hate the word budgeting. You hate budgeting in general. You hate everything about budgeting. I get it. I'm a total weirdo because I love budgeting. And there's lots of efforts out there, I know, to rename budgeting to something else, cash flow. My favorite software tool calls it spendfulness. Like, I get it. The word budgeting, people just hate. But I'm going to hopefully give you a little bit of pushback on this in a positive way, because we're going to go over 10 budgeting myths that keep people from using a budget. So let's dive in. So first off, just framing it, creating and following a budget is one of the most powerful ways to gain control of your finances. So it's really, really useful. But despite its benefits, a lot of people avoid budgeting altogether. And often it's because of these myths, these misconceptions that make budgeting seem restrictive, complicated, unnecessary. And these myths hold people back from making progress with their money. So let's unpack some of the most common budgeting myths and what the truth actually is. All right, myth number one, budgeting means depriving yourself. One of the most deeply rooted myths is that a budget is all about saying no. It's easy to imagine a budget as a rigid framework that cuts out fun spending and limits your lifestyle. But in reality, a good budget is not about restriction. It's about intention. A well-designed budget simply tells your money where to go based on your priorities. If travel, eating out, or hobbies are important to you, they can absolutely have a place in your spending plan. In fact, budgeting allows you to spend more freely because you've already accounted for the essentials. You don't have to feel guilty about spending money when you know it's already part of the plan. Myth number two, only people who are struggling need a budget. So another common myth is that budgeting is only for people who are bad with money or maybe barely making ends meet. But the truth is, everyone can benefit from a budget regardless of income level. Even high earners can find themselves living paycheck to paycheck without a plan in place. I see it all the time. People making a lot of money, but they still live paycheck to paycheck, because lifestyle creep can quickly eat up your income if you're not intentional about where it's going. So a budget helps you align your spending with your goals, and whether that's paying off debt, saving for retirement, building wealth, or just being more mindful with money, it's not about struggle, it's about strategy. All right, myth number three, budgeting is too time consuming. I see this a lot. At first glance, budgeting might seem like a chore. Spreadsheets, receipts, math, etc. It doesn't sound like fun, right? But once you set up a system, maintaining a budget takes much less time than you might think. In most cases, 15 to 30 minutes a week is enough to review your spending and make any adjustments. And with today's budgeting apps and tools like YNAB, for example, which is my favorite, the process is really easier than ever. So many of them sync with your accounts and track your spending automatically. The small investment of time is worth the peace of mind that comes from knowing exactly where your money is going. Myth number four, budgets never work because things always change. All right, life is unpredictable. Expenses pop up, plans shift. But that doesn't make budgeting pointless. A budget is a living document, so to speak. It's not carved in stone. One of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting perfection. If you overspend in one category or something unexpected comes up, you can adjust. That's the beauty of a flexible budgeting system. It moves with you. So rather than trying to predict every detail, focus on building a budget that includes buffers for the unexpected. That way your plan is resilient even when life throws you a curveball, which it will. All right, myth number five, budgeting is just about cutting back. Many people approach budgeting with a mindset of reduction. They focus on what they have to cut or give up. But budgeting is not just about trimming expenses. It's also about understanding your cash flow and making space for what matters. So sometimes that means cutting spending, but other times it means increasing your income or shifting priorities. Budgeting gives you clarity on what's possible and how to make trade-offs that support your bigger goals. So in other words, budgeting isn't just a tool for saving money, it's a framework for making better financial decisions. Myth number six, if you're already good with money, you don't need a budget. Some people think that if they naturally live below their means or don't carry debt, they don't need a formal budget. But being good with money and having a budget aren't mutually exclusive. So even the most disciplined spenders can benefit from a plan. A budget helps you move beyond simply avoiding mistakes. It helps you actively pursue financial goals. So whether you're saving for a home, planning for early retirement, or funding your child's education, a budget is your roadmap. Without one, it's much harder to measure progress or to make intentional choices. Myth number 7, budgeting is too complicated. So budgeting doesn't need to be complex to be effective. Some of the best budgeting systems are simple and sustainable. You don't need to track every penny or have dozens of spending categories, although you can if you want to. That's okay. In fact, I do. I like having every dollar has a job to do, but it doesn't have to be that way. So for many people, a high level budget using just a few broad categories is enough to stay on track. The key is consistency and regular check ins. If budgeting seems overwhelming, it's okay to try something simpler, whether it's zero based budgeting, the 50-30-20 rule, or using an envelope system. The best budget is the one you'll actually stick with. Myth number 8, budgets don't work for irregular incomes. So freelancers, business owners, commission-based workers often assume budgeting is off limits because their income fluctuates. But budgeting is just as important, if not more so, when your income isn't predictable. So the key is to base your budget on the lowest average monthly income or a conservative estimate. And then when you earn more than expected, you can use the surplus to build up savings or cover future shortfalls. So with a thoughtful approach, you can make a buffer that smooths out the ups and downs of variable income. Myth number 9, budgeting means you can't be spontaneous. There's this belief that budgeting kills spontaneity, but a good budget includes flexibility. By setting aside a portion of your income for fun or discretionary spending, you can still enjoy things like unplanned dinners, weekend getaways, or even impulse purchases without throwing off your entire financial plan. Budgeting actually makes spontaneity less stressful because you're spending from a place of confidence rather than uncertainty. And myth number 10, once you set a budget, you're done. So a budget isn't a one-time task. Your life changes, goals change, your income and expenses change. Your budget should change too. The most effective budgets are reviewed and refined on a regular basis. That might mean making small adjustments month to month or completely revisiting your approach once a year. So think of budgeting as an ongoing conversation with your money. When you engage with it consistently, it becomes a tool for empowerment, not a source of stress. All right, so those are my 10 myths about budgeting that keep people from budgeting. So just wrapping up here, a few thoughts. So budgeting is not about limiting your freedom. It's about creating it. When you push past the myths and approach budgeting with clarity and intention, you gain control over your financial life. You're no longer reacting to your money, you're directing it. So if you've been avoiding a budget because of one of these myths, consider giving it another look. Budgeting doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to work for you. So if you're not sure where to start or want help creating a plan that fits your lifestyle, consider working with someone like me, a financial advisor, a coach, someone. And I promise a thoughtful budgeting strategy can really unlock so much potential and is the foundational key for everything else in your financial journey. So give it a shot. All right. With that, as always, you're welcome to reach out. My website is elevationfinancial.com. You can find me there. You can book a free consultation online if you'd like to consider becoming a client and learn more about that. Or you can just send me a note through my website or on social media. I'm pretty much everywhere, as you've probably seen. All right. Thanks so much for joining me today. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.